Here we go. Welcome in, everybody. I know there's a baseball game going on right now, but I, like last week, am just not going to stay up to do a post-game recap of midweek baseball. Forgive me for being cynical, but quite frankly, what happens on Tuesday nights for the rest of this season just, to me, is just nondescript, unless it's a embarrassing loss, and Ole Miss is not heading towards necessarily an embarrassing loss, but they are down one in the bottom of the sixth right now to Memphis. 4-3 is the score. But quite frankly, I am only interested to know what they do and how they look on weekends. And maybe that's not the best strategy, but that is my strategy, and I'm sticking to it. So I'm glad that you guys are here. My name is Michael Borky. Welcome into Rebel Report Live. We're talking football and a little bit of basketball as well. More specifically, the spring transfer portal window. I've been thinking a lot about this lately. And also, it sounds like at least one of those needs is taken care of, but there's another rumor floating around, and we're going to talk about that. And then, and then basketball, because there is the possibility, if not outright likelihood, that Eric Musselman is leaving Arkansas. There's been a lot of talk about who would replace him. Would it be Chris Beard? On and on and on. So we can discuss that as well. And of course, as always, whatever you guys put in the comments, we will talk about for the next 30 or 45 minutes or so. Glad you're here. Appreciate you being here. Please follow me, social media, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Borkey is how you spell it. It's a bad name, but it's mine. And yes, I used to get made fun of in middle school. It's okay. I've accepted that now. But yeah, find me there, social media. Also, subscribe to this podcast wherever you get them. Just search Rebel Report. Spotify is my favorite podcast app, but you've got one on your phone. I guarantee it. Just pull it out, search Rebel Report, subscribe, and leave a rating and a review. I love that you're on the website at supertalk.fm, but you should subscribe to the podcast instead. So here we go. Not going to waste any more of your time. Spring portal window needs. And what's so interesting about Ole Miss in particular in this, the needs for the spring portal, is one, their number one, their greatest need, it appears they have already addressed, as we talked about the other day when we talked about recruiting and running backs and stuff like that. The players themselves on a podcast discussed openly about that Henry Parrish is probably going to come. And we talked about that on the radio show some, and because you can't ignore it. It's an obvious connection with Kevin Smith. He also was at Ole Miss previously. Ole Miss needs a running back. I would say that's priority one in the spring transfer portal window. It's priority number one. They need a running back in the spring portal window, possibly even two. Forgive me, allergies. Possibly even two running backs in the spring portal window. So that one makes all the sense in the world. But we were talking about that on the radio show, and we got a couple of texts, and it was like, ooh, that sounds like tampering to me. And my response was, yeah, I don't know if you've noticed lately, but there are no rules anymore. So crying tampering is just, I mean, you can do that if you want, but nobody cares. It just falls on deaf ears. It doesn't matter. Nobody's going to enforce it. Just accept that that is what goes on, and, cry yourself to sleep tonight, I suppose, if you're upset that there was possible tampering going on. But I think that is portal priority number one is running back, as we've talked about before. We did last time, so I'll spare the repetition, but I do think that they are in, frankly, borderline desperate need of a running back, especially not knowing if Diggs is going to be available for the start of the season. Now, if he was fully healthy, we'd probably have a different conversation. They expect him back, but with the unknown surrounding that, it's a little bit harder to just be like, oh, yeah, they're good there, all good, without knowing what he's going to be like post-injury and the fact that he might not even be available when the season begins. So that's priority one. Sounds like they've already addressed it and good to go. If that, in fact, comes to fruition, they're good to go. Number two, at least I thought they needed another rush end. That is something that, they had locked up with Barron from Tennessee, who went to Louisville. More on that in a second. They tried to get the Arizona State transfer, whose name's escaping me at the moment, but they tried to get him. He ended up going to Colorado for some reason. Sure. If you want to have a losing record and be a part of that uh, show, then by all means go ahead. But so they've tried to add. They did successfully add until it was taken away at the last minute. But I thought that that was priority number two: is running back one, rush end two. Now I know that people really like the recruiting class. I know that he's more of a linebacker, but like Dudley did some nice things in the bowl game, for example. They can be creative defensively, and I like a lot of what they have on the defensive line. You guys know that already. I've um, really been a big believer in what they have on the defensive line overall. However, I still think that rush end is a pass rush is an area that they need to address in the spring portal if the opportunity presents itself. Now, in walks Tyler Barron. What am I talking about? There is an unsubstantiated, or at least to my knowledge, maybe somebody has, and I haven't seen it, but I have tried myself to kind of find out if there's any reality to the fact that Barron could be changing his mind and coming back to Ole Miss after he like moved to Oxford, kind of, and then enrolled and changed his mind and went to Louisville. There's just a lot of people talking about the possibility of his return to Ole Miss. And so two things can be true at once. Again, I cannot verify this. I have no idea if it's real. I have not been able to do it myself. I have not seen any verifiable he's going to hit the portal and he's going to return to Ole Miss. If it's out there, I've missed it. I haven't seen it. So I am just kind of talking about rumor, right? That's all this is. I can't verify it. But if he returns to Ole Miss, two things can be true at once. On one hand, that would be a good pickup. I don't think he's better than Jared Ivey. I don't think he would be a starter, but he is a experienced SEC end who can get after the quarterback and can help you and allows you to feel much better about your depth on the defensive line and how creative you can get with some packages and things like that. He would be a good addition, just like he would have been had he stuck around the first time. He would be a good addition if he does have buyer's remorse and that rumor is true and he wants to return to Ole Miss. Again, I just have no idea the validity of it. I'm not going to speak to it because I've tried to dig on it and I can't figure it out. So if it's real, then good for Ole Miss. If it's not, then it's not. But he would be helpful. I don't think he's better than Ivy. It would be a good pickup for the role that they will need him to play. But shouldn't the way he left be a red flag? Like, shouldn't that be an issue if this is in fact in the works? Showing up, enrolling, and then leaving at the last second where they could have been looking for other guys. I don't know. Just it feels like that kind of breakup and the way that goes down is odd to the point where trying to reignite that flame might be problematic. Maybe is that the right word? I don't know. I mean, I guess in this era, and Lane talked about it today, I guess in this era, it just simply does not matter anything because they're all mercenaries. They're not all mercenaries, but these portal guys, they're mercenaries, and there's it's all an NFL feel. And Kiffin again talked about it today, where it's all they're treating it like the NFL. They made a staff hire, a player personnel guy that is an NFL player personnel guy, and they're going to operate their program like the NFL. So maybe they just look at it with emotion removed, and you bring somebody like that back in because they can help you win games. But it does feel like the way that went down to reignite that would be at least a little bit odd, for sure. Flaking out like that would make me weary of his ability to buy into your team, into your program, especially when he would be joining the team late. I mean, it's interesting as hell to think about and discuss. I have tried to get more about it and I can't, but enough people are talking about it to where at least we bring it up and kind of opine over the possibility, I suppose. But it is That's a weird deal. He certainly would help, but I can't help but wonder if there'd be somebody else out there that they would go after that did not previously leave them at the very last second to kind of hamstring them in their ability to find somebody that would be an adequate replacement. So that's out there. We shall see. We'll get to your messages after I tell you the podcast is brought to you by Advantage Business Systems. Check them out online. absms.com is the website. If you're in the market for office technology, anything from copiers and printers and mail machines to cloud storage, data security, IT projects, phone systems, whatever it is, if it's technology, if it's in the office and your Mississippi business needs it, tell them I sent you. You get a complimentary office technology assessment. So you tell them what you need and what your budget is, and they will find a solution for you on me. That's Advantage Business Systems, absms.com. The podcast is also brought to you by Priority One Bank. Let them make you their priority like they make me their priority every single day. They've got 16 locations here in Mississippi, so there is very likely going to be one in your backyard. They make you their priority with their online banking platform. So one-stop shop. You don't need multiple apps to do whatever it is that you want to do with your money. You just need an internet connection because, again, Priority One Bank makes you their priority. Ole Miss has tied it up in the 7th. Looks like a pair of doubles from Roth. I was looking at Groff and Ross and just combined them both. Ross and Leger have both doubled to tie the game at 1. So 1 out, runner on second for Ole Miss. Maybe they can get some confidence back going into Arkansas. But we'll get to your comments, and you guys will take us on home. Here we go. How are we in April already? You only have 29 days to decide where you're going to college. I can't decipher what that emoji is. I kind of feel like you already know where you're going to college. Appreciate you being here, Sco Rebs. So I kind of feel like you made that choice. Bronny James to Oxford. You know, Bronny James is a good example of how idiots in sports media, and that includes me, I'm an idiot in sports media, can overhype a player to the point where they are called a bust when they never should have been considered that in the first place. I didn't describe that well. Bronny James is not a lottery pick. At least he wasn't. He wasn't a lottery pick prospect. Good prospect. Definitely a college player, right? A power four now college player for sure. But you had people putting him in mock drafts in the first round or in the lottery. And those people were so disingenuous because those people knew or should have known that he wasn't a lottery pick. And so when Bronny, especially after a medical episode, goes to USC and doesn't start, people think that he's trash or whatever. And instead of him going to USC and not starting was exactly what a prospect of his level coming off of a medical scare was going to do his first year in college. It's the media's fault that a guy like Bronny is looked at as a failure so far. It's like Shea Patterson. When Shea Patterson transferred to Michigan, the Michigan media called it national championship or bust. And that was so unfair to Shea Patterson because he was not going to win a national championship at Michigan because he wasn't a national championship caliber quarterback. He wasn't. But because he was a 5-star 3 years ago, they just built him up to be this guy that he never was. And he never was going to meet that expectation. Never. And I mean never. You shouldn't say never and ever because it's a very long time, but Shea Patterson was never winning a championship at Michigan. He was never going to contend for the Heisman Trophy. He wasn't that good. Bronny is not that good. And so, I mean, I'm sure Chris Beard would love to have him because he's a good prospect. He has talent and ability, but he wasn't a lottery pick. But people said he was, and so things got just completely and totally out of control. It's a joke. Never too early to talk football. Yeah, especially right now. Can't listen to or watch Ole Miss baseball, an Ole Miss baseball game at this point. You're out. I hear you. We will do, by the way, a post game Thursday. I don't see why not after the Arkansas game. So we will wait until the game is over, by the way, on Thursday to go live because again, Just why not? So it's football season. T, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Hope you are doing well. Glad to see you again. Not football related. This is the second thing I wanted to talk about tonight, but the contract for Chris Beard could be of much importance with what is going on with Arkansas and Eric Musselman. So yeah, that is out there. Eric Musselman interviewing for USC. If your interview is going public, then you're very likely already gone. I know that um, there have been times in the past where a coach has interviewed and stayed with their school. It does happen, but it seems like Eric Musselman is on his way out of Arkansas, which is something that's been talked about for a very, very long time, frankly. It's been a couple months that people have been talking about how he wants out and then the ripple effect that that's going to create. Um, for what it's worth, uh, 8 weeks ago, I guess, it was said to me that if Arkansas comes open, it is done. Chris Beard is going to be the next head coach at Arkansas. It is done, is what I was told weeks ago. And I guess that rumor went around. It certainly wasn't exclusive to me. I guess it went everywhere because people got to the point where they were wondering if the team was falling apart because they knew their coach had already like decided that he was leaving and his foot was halfway out the door. We didn't talk about that here because it was one person and it was unsubstantiated. And I think that it's no longer accurate. It may not have been accurate at the time, but I don't think it is now. Maybe it is. We'll have to see. But um, what I will say is that Ole Miss has done everything they can to keep Chris Beard. That if Arkansas were to offer him the job and he were to leave, don't blame the administration and the school and the collective for his departure. If he leaves, he was always going to, and there's nothing Ole Miss could have done. He's got a new contract. He's got a lot of money in NIL. Fan support was good this year. I mean, it's all there, and if he chooses to leave it, then he chooses to leave it. It doesn't sound. I don't know. It's hard to gauge this, frankly. It's a long-winded way for me to say I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if Arkansas is going to make him a priority, and I don't know if he's going to receive their advances in the same way that people thought he would a few months ago. I don't know. I don't know what his new contract at Ole Miss is. I don't know what the buyout is. There's a lot of I don't know here. But the truth is, there's no reason to worry. Like I say with Lane Kiffin when his name always comes up, worry when there's reason to worry. And Arkansas coming open on its own is not reason to worry. There's reason to worry when Arkansas comes open and it's reported that he is priority one. Then we can start talking about it differently. But between the new contract, which I don't know if he signed it or not, but if you expected Arkansas to come open, why would you even let that publicly get out that you've agreed to a new contract, right? I don't know. I know that they are active in portal recruiting, and they have been. It certainly doesn't sound like, because we talked about this on the show today, and started talking to people, and it doesn't sound like that folks within the department are expecting him to leave. It's a whole big batch of I don't know. That was a couple minutes of me telling you I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't think that Chris Beard will leave Ole Miss after this year. I really don't. But if he does, I know the one phone call that I would make. I wouldn't do a national search. You know, they put the press release out that, hey, we're going to do a national search to find our next coach. Nope, it's a regional search. It is a one phone call search. It's one flight to Lake Charles, Louisiana, and I hire Will Wade, and I keep on plugging because Will Wade will win. That's what he does, and his crime is now celebrated, let alone legal. So I don't think that we're going to have to, have that conversation. I don't think that that's going to happen. I do not know. It's something to keep an eye on for sure. If Arkansas tries to make a run at him, then we'll shift our tone for sure in this conversation. But right now, I just don't worry until you're given reason to worry. And right now, you have not been given reason to worry. So don't. Running back, defensive end, and linebacker for sure are the needs. Would like to see more offensive line and secondary help. Expect Ole Miss to pick up a couple more transfer guys this spring and summer. Oh, no doubt. Offensive line would be a tough sell, frankly, unless you have some departures. But right now, what are you going to sell to an offensive lineman? I mean, they have really done a really good job at adding offensive linemen, and it would be hard to convince some of these guys to, hey, come to Ole Miss, where they just added Drake May's left tackle, two guys that were on Washington's national championship game team. They returned their right tackle. You see what I mean? There's just they've done such a good job in the portal. It's hard to envision an offensive lineman wanting to jump into that situation unless they have a lot of years of eligibility and understand that, hey, I'm not going to start this year, or I may not start this year. Might be a tough sell. But yes, they're going to add more than just running back and defensive end. They'll keep adding, and they'll lose some too. They will. I don't think that they're in danger of losing any starters or anything like that, like other schools will. But they're going to lose people. It's what happens, and so they're going to have to be active in replacing them as well. Memphis took a lead, by the way, in the bottom of the 5th inning. So you think the top two guys, if Muss leaves, are not Beard, are Will Wade and Jerome Tang? Seems like a lot of people are connecting Tang to that job, but we'll see. Parrish and the Barron rumors being true, and I'll be okay with it. Adding anything else for depth is a bonus. Yeah, just from a football perspective, forget the weirdness about Barron, and that's just weird to me. But if those become true, they become true. Very good pickups, important to add at those positions for sure. No doubt about it. Absolutely no doubt about it. It's almost a given that Henry Parrish will arrive back at Ole Miss. You wonder if they grab another one just in case. I think they will. I don't know, but I think they will. Wouldn't count on a healthy Bentley and Logan Diggs coming back right on time. Tyler Barron, you've heard serious rumors about. See, exactly. I mean, it's kind of everywhere at this point. And I've asked. It shows how useful I am, everybody. I've asked, and I can't get anywhere on it. But man, that program is just not leaky at all, and for good reason. They don't want. They want to operate in the shadows a little bit because they need to make sure that they're able to balance all of the like if they bring in Tyler Barron, there's going to be a guy in the defensive line room that's going to be like, wait, what the hell? So they have to balance all of this, keeping a roster together while adding to it and things like that. They want to operate in the shadows. There's a reason they're not showing anybody anything significant from practice. I mean, all the practice reports are from just such limited information because they don't want anybody to know anything. And I get it. Frankly, I don't like it. I understand why they do it. If I were them, I would do the same thing. Now, I do think fans and media and everybody should be able to see more. But when your players can leave whenever the hell they want to, I understand why you want to keep things locked down. Truly, I do. I mean, it's a crazy world we're in. Tampering apparently hasn't been a thing for years. Yeah, I know. I mean, you still have people, Pat, that are so been out of shape about breaking NCAA rules. It's crazy. I mean, when we had the conversation about Josh Hubbard, it's like, oh, they're tampering. They're tampering. Why don't we do anything about this? It's like, because you are too. It sucks, but nobody's going to enforce it. So crying about, oh, well, Kentucky's going to tamper with Josh Hubbard, forget that. Just lock a deal down and make sure that he doesn't hit the portal. And sure enough, State was able to do that. But nobody can enforce rules anymore. So don't cry about them not being enforced when you know that they can't. I don't know. You heard Diggs should be back at least by mid-October, so don't need 2 running backs. But here's the thing, though. What if he's not his old self? What if there's a setback? He's just such an unknown. And Bentley hasn't exactly stayed healthy either. So definitely going to add one. If the right one comes available, would not be surprised if they add 2. Really would. Would love to have Barron back. Don't see him being a starter, but still a good player. I don't see him starting either. To make a natty run, they need him and a couple more this offseason for sure. You still take two running backs, counting on a healthy Diggs that late can be dangerous. Got to make all this money to get every need. Two more running backs may take away from another spot of need. I think that won't be an issue. I think, but you are right. I mean, there's a finite amount of money. It doesn't all just grow on trees, right? There is a finite amount of money. There's no salary cap, but every team does have a spending limit. Uh, Lane talked about that today. His press conference was fascinating today because he talked about how they are roster building and the way they approach it, where it's not about, oh, I'm recruiting these players, collective, go sign them. It's I'm recruiting these players, collective, figure out what they're asking for, and if it that they have like they're using like data and when it comes to the finances that they could love a player, but they set a ceiling on what it would take to get them. They're not overspending on guys based on their relative ability. And, that's not a crazy concept. I'm sure other teams are doing it as well, but it is really interesting to listen to him talk about, you know, they could afford to get X player, but why if they can get B player or F player for less money and get the same level of production? It's very interesting to hear him talk about it. Got to remember, Lane doesn't play many guys on offense. It's like he can't trust many guys past his starters. Injuries would be brutal if that's the case again. It appears that is the case. Like he's got a really high standard of you have to know what the hell you're doing or else you're not going to play. Aiden Williams, for example, in the Tulane game, made a mistake in the first quarter, didn't play the rest of the game. Trey Harris got hurt. He didn't play the rest of the game because he made a mistake. And also, they can't sub much because they move so fast. Yeah, Barron had a lease on a place in Oxford and left. Yeah, I mean, he moved there. He was part of the program for a period of time and then dipped out. It's a weird thing. If he does come back, the defensive line could have some 1A, 1B defensive line depth like some of the old Joe Lee Dunn defensive lines. Be the best they've had since I moved here. John Bowles playing tonight on ESPN. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed I'm not watching it right now, but I'm talking to you guys, so I'm happy to be doing that. I will check it out, though, when we hang up. He is a very important piece for possibly next year's team, depending on how the portal goes. So you're still one of those people who's not counting on Deion Smith until I see it. I'm not either. I know that he's super talented and everybody loves him, but especially when you've got Harris and Watkins and Juice Wells, and apparently they really like Caden Lee, for example. Deion Smith is just a luxury if he gives you anything at all. I think Juice Wells, who apparently, by the way, he's banged up, but they expect to be back by the Furman game. I'm far more excited about watching Juice Wells play and what he can do to that offense than Deion Smith, because I know he can produce at this level in electric ways. So having him on the field with Watkins and Harris, that excites me a lot more than this guy that I know everybody talks about how talented he is. I hear all of those things just like you do, but I haven't seen it. And I gravitate more towards what is known as opposed to what is projected, if that makes sense. Yeah, Deion is not there yet. Will be this summer, apparently. Ron says, I thought that said Ron Polk, and I thought this was going to be a great troll, but it's Ron with a different last name. I appreciate you being here, Ron. Hello, all. Hotty toddy. That is all. Appreciate you being here. When we talk about all the new faces paired with the returners, the hope would be that the team mentally is closer to 23 than 22, that adversity might come seriously for the first time in Game 7 like 22. Oh, sorry. What you mean is the team is half asleep at the wheel, some the first 6 games, and Baton Rouge is a wake up call. You say Parrish isn't the guy that they need. What do you mean by that? Because I think he makes all the sense in the world. Is he going to win the Heisman? No, but I think he provides a lot of what they need, which is experience, dependability, catch the ball to the backfield, stuff like that. Oh, I'm struggling. Please forgive me. Is Arkansas really that big of an upgrade over Ole Miss for Beard at this time, though? That is a question that he will have to answer. My question with Arkansas is that are they going to go all in on basketball and keep football in the wasteland that it's in? They also have a lot of money in baseball too, but they were late to embrace NIL. Sorry. Gosh. Okie dokie Mikey. Appreciate that. Ole Miss needs a bad to the bone running back who can block and kick booty. Deuce McAllister. No more gazelles. One more deuce, and this group truly pushes a natty. We'll see if he's out there. Arkansas basketball is inherently the better job, but the state of their athletic department and Musselman leaving creates some questions. Exactly. Like if you're looking at that job, take Beard out of the equation for a second. Why was Musselman trying so hard to get out? Why? Why was he so desperate to leave? Maybe it was just as simple as, he butt heads with his boss or a booster group, or the team kind of fell apart, so he's looking for a reset. I don't know. I don't know. But that would make me wonder, why were you so desperate to leave? If Beard leaves, it is what it is. Keith Carter will go make another hire, and the dude has been on fire, so you wouldn't worry. Not with basketball, because again, I think it would be. I don't know actually what they would do. I don't know what Keith would do, but I know what I would do. Love having Keith as the AD. Actually, get to meet him on your birthday next Tuesday for Rebel Road Trip. Awesome, awesome. Those events are few and far between. I think they need to do more of them. But enjoy yourself, man. Also, there's this narrative, and I don't know how far it extends, but there are people that think that Glenn Boyce forced Lane Kiffin and Chris Beard on Keith Carter, and that is just not. It's just not true. I don't know where that came from or how that started. That is just simply not true. Now, Glenn Boyce has been Memphis, by the way, an 8-4 lead. Ooh, uh-oh. Glenn Boyce has been awesome, absolutely awesome for athletics. But he didn't force Lane Kiffin and Chris Beard on Keith Carter. I don't know where that came from, but yes, Boyce has been good for athletics for sure. You won't be surprised if Ole Miss's next big coaching hire isn't football or basketball. That very well could be the next one. Do the men's side of college basketball eventually go to a 4-quarter, 10 minutes per quarter form? They need to. They need to, because the women's game with the fewer fouls, 9-4 now, is much better. I'll stop giving you guys score updates because this is just awful. Gunnar Dennis apparently pitching for Ole Miss and got beaten up on. So if this Ole Miss team beats Arkansas 2 out of 3, would that be enough proof for the theory that the SEC is hands up? Let's see what happens in baseball this year. Yeah, I think that's safe to say. You think a more accurate question is Ole Miss getting run ruled 2 out of 3? I really do not like their chances this weekend. I also think that Bianco should have kept Doyle and Maddox on Friday and Saturday, vice versa. Flip those, because you really think that you're beating Hagen Smith on Thursday? I don't know. I feel like your best chance to win 2 would have been to not pitch those 2 guys against him and just take your chances on Thursday, but, ugh, sorry. It's really struggling. When it comes to money, out see, I shouldn't live in the South. I should live in Alaska or something with hay fever and all that BS, and I take all the medicines in the world, doesn't matter. It's just the nerdiest thing about me. But when it comes to money, keep in mind the Grove Collective is doing the March Madness fundraiser, which should end before the portal opens. The portal is open. Oh, you're talking about football. Gosh, I'm such an idiot. Yeah, they've got the money. The money's not going to be an issue. It's just whether or not the players are there. And they're not going to overspend for the sake of overspending. The people Lane is assembling in Oxford right now is effing crazy. You're not kidding. I mean, the GM hire is was huge. I mean, stealing him for the same role from Texas is unbelievable. NFL player personnel guys in the building. I mean, uh, uh, quality defensive coordinator as an analyst. It is as because it's not just staff. It's not just on field staff. The stuff that they are doing behind the scenes, and that also is a credit to the aforementioned Keith Carter and Glenn Boyce to allow them to continue to build that way and invest like they never have before. And like we said on Thursday, or excuse me, on Sunday, Ole Miss is like a it's like a cool place to work and to play for right now. You know what I mean? And that's evident. I mean, when you've got people leaving Texas for the same job at Ole Miss, there's something unique going on there right now. Thoughts on the women's tournament results yesterday? I watched. I was look. I'm not one of those people that is going to pretend like I am an advocate for women's sports or whatever. I don't watch women's college basketball much. I don't. I have occasionally watched Ole Miss play, and that's really about it. I don't watch. There's only so much bandwidth I have in the day, and when it's anyway, doesn't I don't have to justify my viewing decisions. Uh, but I don't watch. It's just not part of my deal, and that's okay. It grabbed me last night ahead of time. I mean, I was one of those casual people that turned into 12.3 million people, an unbelievably huge audience. It captivated me. And Caitlin Clark is what everybody says that she is. The confidence to shoot from 30 feet, but being a willing passer. Uh, I mean, what was it? A dozen assists, but could have had a lot more. Um, she was exactly what I thought that she would be. LSU's team was more athletic than Iowa's team for sure, but Iowa had her, and that was the difference. I enjoyed watching last night. I truly did. I mean, she is special. She is special. You say y'all are crazy. Go watch Deion Smith's game tape. I hear you. I hear you. I know that he's uber talented. I know, but I need to see it against SEC teams first. Trey Harris, Juice Wells, Jordan Watkins have all done it against SEC teams. That's why I'm more high on them. Until I see it, I'm just not going to be, that's all. I just need to see it first. You believe with the addition of helmet mics, Ole Miss will finally have a chance at being good at milking the clock under Kiffin. They've struggled handedly in that aspect thus far. They have. They absolutely have. This upgraded offensive line should help with that too. I mean, that's really where your lines of scrimmage show up, is that part of the game. That really shows Ole Miss's weaknesses that they've had up front on offense when they've been trying to ice games, right? This unit, the way people talk about this unit, change things. At least they possibly do. We'll have to see. We will have to see. Guys, I'm so sorry. There's a bunch more messages, but I've got to go. I have just allergies is kicking my butt. I've got to go keep keep the remedies going. But I appreciate you guys a lot. And I'm glad that you're here, but I need to go take care of myself and get out of here before I start sneezing all over this microphone. So I appreciate you guys. We'll be back Thursday after the game on Thursdays when we will fire it up and go live. Again, I appreciate you very, very much for being here. Please like the video. Thank you. Please forgive me for cutting it short, but I gotta go. So thank you guys. You guys have a good night, and I'll talk to you on Thursday.